Today we're going to talk about purposeful pauses and comedic timing, and this is one of the most important lessons. The reason this is important, if you get it right, you can end up with really good laughter and rolling laughter from audiences. However, if you don't spend the time in this lesson, you can end up being one of those frustrated speakers that you go, I'm delivering funny stuff to my audience, how come they're not responding? So at this stage you may want to take out a pen and paper to take some notes, because I've got some important success strategies that I want to walk you through step by step. So the first step is always the same with anything to do with humor development and delivery. You got to put your work in. So you put your work in by writing it out and then tightening it up, removing those sentences that are providing no value, removing the fluff words, changing out words to make them more visual. Again, your goal is to make it so visual that your audience feel that they're right there witnessing your story, witnessing the event. So we've got it written out, we've got it tight, we've got it visual, and now we're going to start reading it out loud. And we read it out loud and we're starting to look for a couple of different things. One is, I'm looking to see, where do I want to slow down? And you may be asking yourselves, okay Dave, why would we want to slow down? And there's a couple of reasons. One would be that you want to slow down to give the audience's brains time to catch up on the visuals. You want to make sure that they're all the time with you witnessing the events. So there's going to be areas that you slow down. The other reason you might want to slow down is that you're building tension. And this is beautiful humor when you can find this. You build tension, you build tension, you build tension, and suddenly you have an unexpected twist at the end, followed by a pause, and the audience explode into laughter. So two areas that it's really good to understand why you need to slow down. And when I find these areas in my story that I need to slow down, I typically underline them or highlight them so that when I go through future iterations of editing, I've got a good idea of what I need to focus on and maybe do some changes there. The other thing I'm looking for are areas that I expect the audience to laugh. And we all know in humor, there's some areas that you go, I think they're going to laugh here, I'm pretty sure. And there's other times they just laugh for some reason that you have no idea why, but you take it anyway. And so what I'm doing is I'm looking for areas that I expect the audience to laugh. And then what I do is I put in 3 dots to remind me that this is an area I need to focus on. So the 3 dots are just before the pause, just before I expect the audience to laugh. And again, the importance of putting those 3 dots in there, it's a little memory prompt to let me know that, hey, when I go back to edit this, this is an area I really want to focus on. Make sure I've got a strong punch word just before the audience are expected to explode into laughter. So that's pretty well the nuts and bolts of pauses and comedic timing. But the last thing that you really need to remember is you've got to keep reading this out loud. You may do this 10, 20, 30 times so that it'll start to evolve. You'll find your pauses falling into place. You'll find your pace starting to slow down in the right areas. Your comedic timing starts to pick up and get sharpened and sharpened. Again, this is a great lesson. This is one of the ones you've really got to focus on. This is one of the ones you've got to get it right, because this can be the difference between success or frustration. It's not difficult. It's just a matter of like putting the time in. So let's go and watch some other videos and let's see this in action.